Hello there, friends. It's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb, and today we're going to be taking a look at this Bernat blanket ombre yarn from Yarnspirations. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel, and please hit that like button if you're ready to get started. And don't forget that every week we are posting new content on this channel in the form of yarn reviews, crochet patterns, and all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure that you are subscribed so you can be in the loop for all that stuff that's going on. Today, like I said, we're going to be looking at this Bernat blanket ombre. I have loved Bernat blanket yarn for a really long time. This is my go-to for all of my baby blankets. And recently we started to see here in stores that they have this new ombre version, and it comes in not that many colors. I think I've probably seen maybe 6 or 7 different color variations. For a lot of my baby blankets, I tend to stay to shades of gray, easier for cleanup for mom, and also great for gender neutral. I'm actually working on a baby blanket with this right now, and this is the color Charcoal Ombre. And if you haven't used this yarn before, it is a number 6 super bulky yarn. It is machine washable and dryable, and I've had really great experience with washing and drying products made with this yarn. I've made blankets for all of my own children with this yarn and my husband as well, and they're washed pretty regularly and they still look great. This is recommended that you use an 8mm hook for crocheters, or 8mm or US 11 needles if you're a knitter. And if you're using an 8mm hook, you're going to be getting 7 single crochets and 8 rows to a 4-inch swatch. And for you knitters, you're going to get 8 stitches and 13 rows to a 4-inch swatch. Now, my personal preference for hook size using this yarn is 10 and up. My absolute go-to is my 12mm hook. I almost use this exclusively for this yarn. I find that you get a good balance between drape and stitch definition without getting too many holes in your project. These come in the 300-gram balls, and for a 300-gram ball, you're getting 220 yards. It is 100% polyester. It is very, very soft, and like I said, my go-to for baby blankets. The Bernat blanket yarn has quite a few different varieties. There's the Bernat blanket stripes, which is something that I use quite often. They've got just the Bernat blanket solids, and there's baby blanket and all that stuff. But now with the ombre, it looks like it's going to have a really nice color transition, but I have some troubles with Bernat blanket in that often between the colors there's knots, right? There, instead of just a really smooth transition without any issues, there's often knots. Let's take a look at the project I'm working on with this so you can see how the color transitions, and we'll talk about those knots. This project is working up really quickly. I started it yesterday and I'm already 2 cakes in. I chose to do this pattern because I thought that these post stitches would really help with the color transition. And I was feeling actually a little lazy because normally I have this like obsessive control that I need to control the color changes, but I was feeling a little lazy and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to let it happen. And these post stitches would help me hide any color transitions that happen in the middle of the row. So like up here, there's a color transition, and over here, there's a color transition in the mid row, but it's really hard to tell because of the way the post stitches work up and they kind of bring the colors down from the row above. As you can see, the color transition is a little harsher in some sections than others, like particularly, let's see if I can move this up here. Like here between this off-white and the dark gray, obviously it's very obvious. The transition between this charcoal to the lighter color is beautiful. That I can almost not even tell the color difference when I was working. I'd just be like, oh, I'm in a new color now. And by the time I figure it out, I'm already into this light gray. When you're working it up and you do start to notice the different color changes, you're worried. I started to worry personally. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be as nice of a transition as I was hoping. But in the overall project, when you look at it in the big scale, it is actually quite a beautiful transition. There were a few knots. I think I encountered, let me check my notes, 3 knots. I only had 3 knots in 2 balls of yarn, which is more than I'd like, but it's better than I've had in other balls of Bernat blanket. So I just started my 3rd ball this morning for this, and so far no knots. So hopefully that those 3 were going to be it. I really like the way this transitions. If I were to do this blanket again, I'd probably stay away from the post stitches because I do find that the transition between colors, which is happening every 3.5 rows, is really, the post stitches are getting lost in person. Under the lights, it looks fantastic. I couldn't love how it looks anymore. But when you're just looking at it from your perspective as you're making it, or somebody holding out to you in the normal lighting, the post stitches do tend to get lost. But I really like how it looks. I think that this pattern would be better suited for a solid colored project. So I might redo it again and then write it up in a solid color. You can see how it transitions. I particularly like this section of transition here because it is the most subtle. And this is all one ball of yarn. So although they had the same dye lots, there was a slight difference in color between the ball 1 and ball 2. So I don't know if the bands got switched or what, but there was a slight difference in color. But yeah, I really, really like working with this yarn. Again, 12 millimeter, I get a really nice drape, even with the post stitches. To me, they make the best baby blankets to give, because I personally make mine larger than normal. Like, this covers up this whole table here. And I make it so it can grow with the child instead of just, here's a little stroller size blanket. You can use it for a little while and then it becomes a toy that your child plays with. This is a blanket that will grow with the child, and they can use for years to come. So if I'm going to spend my time making something, I want them to be able to use it for more than, the first year. But that is my opinion. Anyways, so I really like this yarn. If you have used it, I'd love to hear what your experience is. I've only used this color so far. I used grays for baby blankets. I'm eyeing, there's a purple color that was really beautiful. I'd love to see how that transitions between colors, but this has been my experience with this yarn. If you have any experience working with it, I'd love to hear what your experience has been and what you've made with it. I think I might actually try this yarn in a different color for an amigurumi idea I have. I think that would be fun, but I don't know how big it would be in order to get that cool transition. So that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And if you enjoy free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.